Well, just moments ago, Lizzo broke her silence on the lawsuit filed against her by three of her former dancers who claim they were subjected to a hostile work environment and harassment. The complaint also naming her production company and the captain of her dance team. And it says that the dancers were, quote, exposed to an overtly sexual atmosphere that permeated their workplace, which included outings where nudity and sexuality were a focal point. The suit also alleges, among other things, that Lizzo called out one of the plaintiffs for her weight gain after accusing the dancer of not being committed to her role. Lizzo is known, of course, for her uplifting messages and advocacy for body positivity.
Lizzo was once the industry's golden girl, the outspoken flute-playing star who mixed hip-hop, pop, and R&B into empowering anthems that dominated the charts. From Truth Hurts to About Damn Time, her music wasn't just catchy, it became a movement. She represented self-love, inclusivity, and confidence in a business that often tears women down. For a while, she was untouchable, performing at the Grammys, selling out arenas, and gracing magazine covers as the face of body positivity. But behind the glitter and the slogans, there was always a tension between the image and the reality. And in 2023, that tension erupted into a scandal so damaging, it nearly destroyed her career overnight. To understand Lizzo's downfall, you have to start with her rise. Born Melissa Jefferson, she built her early career in indie rap groups before breaking through as a solo artist. Her big moment came in 2019 when Truth Hurts, a song that had been released 2 years earlier. Savika suddenly went viral on TikTok. It topped the Billboard Hot 100 for 7 weeks, making Lizzo a household name. She followed it with an album, 'Cause I Love You, that cemented her as a star. She was funny, outspoken, talented, and she seemed like a breath of fresh air in a pop industry, often accused of recycling the same safe stars. But from the beginning, critics questioned how authentic her rise really was. Many pointed out that she had strong industry backing, from major streaming playlist placements to magazine features, long before she had a proven fan base. Some accused her of being an industry plant, a term used for artists who are pushed to the top by labels instead of climbing naturally. Lizzo leaned heavily on the underdog narrative, telling fans she'd clawed her way up from obscurity. Yet the speed of her rise and the sheer force with which the industry embraced her made people suspicious. Still, for fans, the music and the image mattered more. Lizzo was marketed as a role model, the woman who told you to love yourself no matter your size, who flipped off trolls, who refused to conform to beauty standards. She became a brand as much as a musician, appearing in commercials, on fashion runways, and even starring in film roles like Hustlers. By the time she released About Damn Time in 2022, she seemed unstoppable. The single won Record of the Year at the Grammys, and her reputation as a cultural force looked cemented. But even as she reached her peak, cracks began to show. Behind the scenes, stories circulated about her being difficult to work with. Staff and collaborators whispered that the Lizzo who preached positivity on stage wasn't always the Lizzo they saw in private. Former employees described her as rude, dismissive, and controlling. For years, these were just whispers. But in 2023, the whispers became headlines. In August of that year, 3 of Lizzo's former dancers filed a lawsuit against her, accusing her of harassment, weight shaming, and creating a hostile work environment. The accusations shocked the industry. Lizzo, the face of body positivity, accused of fat-shaming her own team. It sounded impossible, but the lawsuit was detailed, alleging not just verbal remarks, but also uncomfortable situations where dancers felt pressured to participate in activities against their will. The reaction was explosive. News outlets across the world ran with the story. Fans who had once seen Lizzo as a role model suddenly felt betrayed. Hashtags trended on Twitter and TikTok, with fans expressing disbelief and disappointment. Critics said the lawsuit exposed Lizzo's brand as a facade, that the woman preaching self-love to the world was hypocritically tearing down the people who worked for her. Lizzo quickly denied the allegations. In a statement, she called them false, sensationalized, and hurtful. She framed herself as the victim of lies meant to undermine her career. But the apology defense hybrid didn't land the way she hoped. Instead of clearing her name, it left fans divided. Some believed her, others thought she was dodging accountability. The fallout was immediate. Festival organizers who had once fought to book Lizzo now quietly dropped her from lineups. Brands that had used her in ad campaigns suddenly went silent. Even her usually supportive fanbase seemed hesitant to defend her this time. The woman who had been marketed as the ultimate safe star, a Grammy-winning role model for the next generation, was suddenly radioactive. The accusations also cut deeper than most celebrity scandals because they attacked the very core of her brand. Lizzo wasn't just another pop star, she was supposed to be a symbol. She built her empire on empowerment, self-love, and inclusivity. If she really was fat-shaming dancers, if she really did create a hostile workplace, then her entire public persona collapsed under the weight of hypocrisy. That's why the lawsuit stuck. It wasn't just about alleged misconduct, it was about betrayal. As the months passed, the scandal snowballed. More former employees and insiders began speaking out, some backing up the original claims, others adding their own stories of mistreatment. It painted a picture of a star who was far from the positive figure she presented herself as. For an artist at the peak of her fame, it was a catastrophic reversal. The numbers told the story too. Streaming growth slowed. Social media support dipped. Once glowing comment sections turned sour. Where fans once flooded her posts with encouragement, they now filled them with disappointment, criticism, and calls for accountability. It's worth noting that Lizzo hasn't been found guilty of anything in court. At the time of writing, the lawsuit is ongoing, but in the court of public opinion, the damage has already been done. In today's culture, perception often matters more than verdicts. Once fans lose trust in an artist's image, it's nearly impossible to win it back. The scandal also exposed something deeper about the music industry, the danger of building artists into brands bigger than their music. Lizzo's songs were hits, but her real selling point was her image. She was the voice of body positivity, the woman who told you to love yourself, the symbol of inclusivity. That branding made her a superstar, but it also made her vulnerable, because when her image cracked, there was nothing left to fall back on. Some fans argue that Lizzo is a victim of being put on a pedestal, that no one could live up to the flawless image her team created. Others argue that the accusations simply confirmed what insiders had been saying for years. That her positivity was an act, and that she was as controlling and hypocritical as the lawsuit claimed. Either way, her career has never recovered to its former glory. Today, Lizzo is still making music, still performing, still trying to maintain her empire. But she no longer feels like the unstoppable force she once was. In the end, Lizzo destroyed her own reputation, not with a single scandal, but with years of behavior that finally caught up to her. She may deny the allegations, she may fight them in court, but the truth is, once fans believe the mask has slipped, there's no going back.